Welcome, everyone, to episode number 29.
Nice.
Almost a milestone, but it still is a milestone because it's us.
Well, I'm 29, so that's fine. I'm turning 30 soon.
How cool. This is my very, very, very special guest and my good friend, Gerry Rivas. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Thank you. My name's Gerry Rivas again.
Jerry like the mouse.
Jerry like the mouse. I'm the owner of the Rivas Insurance Group. Me and my wife own it and run it. We're independent insurance agents with John Gall Insurance.
So randomly, I've had a couple insurance. I think the two episodes. I have one in between. But I don't necessarily love to only have insurance agents, right? Because either way, we're not going to talk about insurance. But it just so happens to be, obviously, I'm in a pool of insurance agents, and Gerry and I started our journeys of entrepreneurship almost exactly at the same time.
Yeah.
So tell everybody a little bit about our backstory, though. Your version's probably more entertaining than mine.
Okay. Well, like
how did we meet? Yeah.
Okay. We were literally just talking about this story. So I was working. I'll go even further. I was 18 years old, and I said, I think I want to be a doctor. And I said, well, before I go on this long journey and figure it out if I want to or not, let me try it out. So I work in a hospital, I work in an ER. I decide within 3 months, I don't want to be a doctor. But I do like the business side of it, so I'll go into healthcare business. I get offered an opportunity, it goes really well. I end up transferring to a different healthcare system, and I meet this guy called Jordan. Little did I know that's actually Ciara's husband. So I meet Jordan. We're working together, and he says, hey, within 6 months, he's like, I'm getting ready to leave this place. This isn't the corporate ladder you want to climb. If I were you, I'd leave and figure it out. But now I think I'm 21. I'm just getting married. I'm all about I need the benefits and the health insurance and all these things that are important to you as a W-2 employee. And I said, no, I'm going to stay here. I stayed there 3 years, regretting it, and I tried to leave. I had 19 different interviews with different healthcare systems, hospitals, doctors' offices, whatever you can think of. I had 19 interviews, didn't get a job. I told Jordan, because I saw him climbing different ladders, different places, just being really successful. And I was like, hey, man, you got any advice? What do you think? And he said, listen, I think you'll be great working with my wife. And I said, absolutely not. That is super weird. I'm not going to work with your wife. I don't even know who she is. And he was like, no, you'll like them. They're insurance agents. It's a family agency. You really have a good persona for sales. You should definitely do it. I said, okay, fine. I'll do the interview and at least get feedback to know if I'm interviewing good or if it's a bad interview. So I go, I meet Ciara and the G. We have the interview. The G offers me the job on the spot. Says,
I remember that interview.
Do you really?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
We were so impressed.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh.
I remember.
Well, it was not a lot of lies, but a lot of confidence.
I mean, isn't that what interviews are anyways?
Right. So the only part I remember is the G saying, I'm going to offer you the job. I'm hiring you. And then I'm firing you 4 years later. And I had never been fired before. I almost got fired from the last job. I hadn't been fired. I said, okay, why? And he goes, I'm hiring you. And 4 years later, I'm going to fire you. You're going to open up your own insurance agency and you're going to do this separate. You're not going to be my employee because you're too young and you're too good to be stuck as a W-2 employee. And I said, okay, sure. I said, how about this? How about I make you so much money, you don't fire me? And then we have a different conversation. And 4 years later, I learned, literally, I say it all the time, everything I learned about insurance and managing people, even though there was a lot to learn, I think more because of my age, but just opportunities that I had talking with people and growing a business, having a family business because I work with my wife and I want my 3-year-old son to work in our agency too. All that I learned from you guys and have replicated it, and just we're just really learning together. You guys ended up selling that agency. but I didn't get fired.
No, you didn't get fired. It's funny because, you know, that's why I love to do this. And with time, this podcast has turned into, it's a little bit of like selfish of like what I know that my business needs, but sometimes it's also just a little bit of therapy. And it's like you were working in corporate, you know, and we are sold this dream of you grow up, you go to college, you finish school, you get a high paying 6-figure job, and that's your threshold, right? Like I don't ever remember being told about entrepreneurship in high school or anything. And I did business administration for my associate's degree. And what is that? What does it even mean? It's nothing like what this actually is. And it's wild how you had all those interviews and none of them hired you, but you came to a small business and you were a rock star to us. Isn't that weird? How maybe, who knows? And I know that, I think that because you left that interview and came back, right? Like you told us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I had to talk to my wife. I was like, oh my gosh, I've never worked for a small business.
For a small
before.
business.
Yeah.
The fear even of leaving corporate America to go to a small business, because obviously our benefits were not the same. We couldn't give you, you know, what a hospital could give you. But it's just so wild that those fears are just embedded in us. And imagine if you would have said no. Where would you have been? Probably in another corporate America job.
It is so crazy. And I tell the G, and it's funny because he's really emotional, so he always like almost cries when I tell him. But literally at least once a year, we see each other a lot, but once a year we do something nice together, and I'm like, yo, you guys literally changed my life, and you have no idea like in what way, because I don't know where I would be working, but I'd probably be stuck,
right?
Because of my age, I just saw this recently. Because of my age, I probably would have been fired somewhere because I was a little hot-headed. But I probably would still be climbing some corporate ladder, trying to get to like this $100,000 mark. That's the goal. That's the goal for you to get
a title in 6 figures.
And literally, I see it and hear it with other people or people that we're trying to hire, that maybe you start at 60,000, and to get to 100,000, it's going to take you 35 years.
35 years, absolutely.
Because it's going up 2-3% every year. It's crazy.
It's great. And you know, I read a book recently, Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah, I read it.
And it talks about, right, like there's entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, right? And they're, just because you don't want to own a business, okay, that's fine. That's not what this is about. But even just given an opportunity, right? It's so funny. He is super passionate about it, because yesterday he told the people when we were like, oh, we're going to make a referral, an introduction to Gerry. And he was like, I've helped 3 people open their agencies. He says it's one of the things I'm the most proud of in my life.
Yeah, no, he should be. He should be.
And I agree too. And there's something to be said about people that, like, one of his biggest regrets is doing it at 49, waiting so long. So, I mean, you got 20 years on him. Yeah,
no, his story, and when you get to know the G and you hear that story, like it breaks your heart, because you hear how somebody was devoted to a company for 20 plus years, and then in one day, because some new guy or it's something so stupid, they come and they make a decision and say, hey, you no longer work here anymore. Right. And they just take everything away. Everything away. It's definitely rewarding, what we're doing. It's definitely challenging. Yeah. I never had a white hair until I became an entrepreneur.
Tell us about it. Tell us what's been the hardest thing for you?
I would say the very first part, when you first start, I would say, is the fear of doing it, and then like the financial impact it has on you and your family. Most entrepreneurs, especially, I think even in the insurance space, right? Because we opened up our agency and that's what we do, but I had to start, like, you don't just immediately start making money. Right. Even if you sold a policy today, you'll get paid 60, 90 days later. So I did Uber for a long time, just trying to figure it out. It was in the middle of COVID, so it was just like end of the world figuring out what to do. And having to have those tough conversations with my wife and saying, look, we're not going to make ends meet. How are we going to do it? The little bit of savings we had, you eat through it really quick. I have a joke now that it's just because that's just how we are. As you mature and go through those things, I'm just like, we put on a credit card and you figure out later. Right. Like, it is what it is.
I had heard, I think it might have been someone in our space, a podcast in the insurance industry where someone was like, you don't know what it is to struggle as an entrepreneur until you're borrowing against your credit card to make payroll.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, Ciara, you're not doing that bad because I haven't had to go that far. You know, my mortgage is due on the 15th. Sometimes I pay myself on the 11th, you know, like wait, you know, that type of figuring out your own finances. You take a back seat. Your personal finances.
Oh, 100%. When we first left and went on our own, we opened up an agency with a captive company, and we put the employees first in everything, and that ended up like biting us really, because of COVID and all that stuff. Eventually, everybody was like, "Yo, just fire me because we'll actually make more money off unemployment." So we had put them first for so long. We literally didn't receive any money for a month or two, and we just lived off our savings, which is what brought us down to zero. And all these employees were like, listen, like, thank you for what you've done, but we'd rather just collect unemployment. And I felt like that was such a slap in the face because they didn't understand, like,
Your sacrifice.
I'm worrying about paying the lights at my house, or, you know, maybe even possibly losing my house. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm paying you and paying all these expenses first. So now moving forward, we've changed that. I don't sacrifice it as much. I do believe we should get paid because at the end of the day, it's our business, it's our clients. We're responsible for those things. So I don't put us last. But yes, we definitely, you know, I do have bills that may be owed on the 15th and I pay them on the 18th. Yeah, whatever. I'll pay a $10 late fee.
It's the nature of the sacrifice, right? And it's funny because even when you hire people, what I've learned too is no one's going to care like you. That's out the window. Don't expect it. They will never care.
Well,
like you do.
Yeah. One, good luck hiring somebody. You know, and keeping them on. We've found some people just never worked. Expectations are different. I find that entrepreneurs a lot of the time are always looking for intrapreneurs, just like how the book says. I don't know where to find them yet. I'm still looking.
I think for us, at our size, it's difficult because you can't offer there's only so much you can offer, and even in our space, you know, there's huge competitors, not the national competitors that are publicly traded, that are paying for the positions that we need. They're paying six figures.
Yeah.
So, I realized that for me, the only thing I have to offer that those big box agencies don't are immense flexibility. That's all I have, because I can't pay them six figures. I can't pay them $75,000 to come and answer the phone.
That's interesting.
All I have is flexibility. So
when you say flexibility, is it only flexibility with time though? Like if you need time off, I'll be flexible, or you can come into work at this time and whatever.
It's so the two that I have here, they wanted to work part time. You know, Sophia has Tuesdays off. That's her day off. He makes up his schedule. Holidays that I'm closed, even though they're part time, I pay them 8 hours for it. Like,
oh snap!
You want to work here? No.
I mean,
I feel like that's all I can do. All I have is this past weekend, right? Labor Day. I paid them the 8 hours, even though they would be working 4.
That's really nice.
All I have is flexibility.
So on my spectrum, I'm actually a little bit different, and maybe too hardcore on this. My opportunity is growth. So even though where I am now, what my offer is, doesn't mean that that's where you're going to stay. And I'm not looking to grow 2 or 3% every year. So neither should your salary. But I do expect for you to work hard, because I'm looking for the intrapreneur. If I work a minimum of 12 hours a day, I don't want you working 7. And we've tried it, right? And me and my wife work together. We work very hard all day, every day, weekends, nights, it doesn't matter. And to us, it's kind of a slap in the face when somebody is just like, hey, I need to leave early because of this excuse, that excuse. And when you're too flexible, then people take advantage. And for me, it's a slap in the face. But what I offer is different from what you offer.
Right. Yeah.
We actually were competing against to hire somebody. So there you go.
It's a thing of it's what's worked for me. I mean, also they're young, right? So that's an
True.
advantage for me because they want their flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I also, like we did with you, we've always had experience in getting people that have zero insurance experience and showing them. And so that allows us to pay a little bit less because if I had to hire someone with experience,
Right. It costs too much.
It costs too much and they're getting offers that I can't compete with, and I actually had somebody on the podcast maybe about 2 episodes ago. His name is Michael Cruz. He's an independent agent out of Maryland. He just implemented in his office the 4-day work week. And it's not 4 10-hour days. They're working 32 hours. They're getting paid for 40.
Mm.
And he says it has the efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
the teamwork, the boost in morale. Now nobody's taking time off to go to the doctor. It's on your day.
Yeah.
And the gratitude from their employees. And he said the same thing. I can't compete with the big dogs in our space. But what I could give them, the majority of his employees are moms, and they're so grateful that they have a day to themselves.
Right.
Because the weekends are dedicated to their children.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that being creative is something that I think that's the only angle we have at our size.
No, 100%. I think that's really cool, and I can see how that can benefit and why people would want that. And the one of the big things that I'm focusing on right now is culture. So I would love to walk in and feel the culture there, because I'm sure it's like, hey, it's Tuesday. We only got till Thursday. Like, we got to figure this out now. So the teamwork and the speed and the urgency on stuff, I'm sure it's very different if it's Tuesday and you're like, this can wait till Friday.
Right.
So
Right.
I can see that working.
Everybody's mandatory on Monday. So nobody's off on Monday.
I like that.
Yeah, because he says Monday is a crucial day after 2 days off. Yeah. So everybody's in on Monday. He's going to keep me posted on it, but I loved it. I thought it was a great idea. And he's just finding ways, especially with the market that we've had. It's just been so difficult. He saw his staff being burnt out. So I think it's just, that's also part of the pains that we have, right? We haven't established the parameters or the offerings that we know work for what we're looking for.
True.
It's part of the growing pains.
It is. And as a business owner, I think what I've learned, like, every year we have like a new word of the year, or we really reflect on what did we do good last year, what did we do bad last year, and how can we improve or change it. So, I know myself, I'm really hard on it because I'm always trying to figure out, like, where did we fail, because I hate losing.
Yeah. So
it's where did we fail, where my wife is a big, like, hey, let's zoom out. We still had a great year.
Right.
Now, how do we make it better? So I think
that's a good balance to have, though, with both of you.
It is.
Yeah.
We really are a great team. And in addition to everything that we're talking about, I really want to say, in all the books that I read and everything, so many people say, if you're going to be a business owner or entrepreneur, you need to make sure you have the right partner for it. One, because, like we were just talking about, the sacrifice that it takes, and forget all the financial sacrifices, because money comes and goes. The time sacrifice that is done, physically and, like, mentally, because sometimes we'll be watching a movie or something, like sitting down on the TV, and I literally have like a notepad and a pen, just making notes on what I'm thinking about or how we can change the process.
They understand that you don't disconnect.
Exactly. So having the right partner to do that, to give you that freedom and flexibility to help you and push you and motivate you is really important too, besides everything else.
Yeah. I know that you guys do a ton of networking, right?
We do.
Talk to us about that. So the premise of this podcast, I know but just briefly, offering business advice to new entrepreneurs. I feel like our industry is very supportive, but, like, if someone's new in business, lost, doesn't know how to network, what tips do you have?
So I'm going to give you exactly what we do and what our company teaches us, and the secret sauce that really isn't secret, because when I say it, you're going to be like, okay, duh. One of the most important things that probably makes us really successful and why we network and get to meet so many people is because our business is a relationship business. All we do all day is build relationships and help other people build their business. how we do it is creative. It's not the same for everybody.
Right.
But it is really getting to know somebody, figuring out what their struggle is, and just be that problem solver, whether that's insurance or not, right? Like
Right.
I sell homeowners insurance, but that doesn't mean you may call me or I may call you. Most likely I'll call you, right? And I'll say, hey, Ciara, like what's going on this week? And you might say, I'm looking for somebody to do flooring because I've got a client that, the water damage happened and now they don't have a floor person. Boom, I got you. Let me make this introduction for you. Solving other people's problems for free, right? And helping them expand and grow their business or help them keeps running is what creates that. I don't know what the effect is, but it's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And you can only do that by building relationships and helping other people. So because of that, we get introduced, invited to a lot of networking things, and that's how we've grown and have been successful. But our secret is really not a secret. We build relationships with people, we ask people how we can help, and we just follow through exactly with what we do.
How about when the networking is exhausting or not the right group? How do you make that decision? Is it direct ROI? Like, are you tracking the referrals and the leads, or is there more involved to it?
That's a good question. We actually recently just went through all of that. So yes, we do track it. So we have to know how much are we investing into this networking group or taking the time.
Is it money investment and time investment?
Both.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And it's funny because our number one networking group is the most expensive with the least amount of time at that group. Because when you're buying into it, right, there's a commitment level.
Sure.
When it's a little bit of higher value, it's higher value people, different mindset and everything like that. It's our number one place where we get our most referrals and build relationships is actually Miss Esquire that you've had in a podcast. Absolutely an amazing group. I get super inspired and motivated when I go because it's a room full of boss women.
Yeah.
And here I am like being shown how all these awesome attorneys are doing things. But it's a little bit higher value, but the way they think and they process things, how much time that it's given. That's why they meet once a month because they're really busy. But it's all about, hey, like how can I help you make these introductions all quickly with a sense of urgency. The one, for example, we did quit another networking group that was the least expensive I had ever heard of. They met every other week at 7 a.m. and like we were getting no business. Now, mind you, because it's $50, I get one policy. It pays for like half the year. But it took me really 2 years to say, okay, forget the amount of money, right? Because it's worth it financially, but it's how much time am I allowing to do this networking group? And I really, at that point, I had been there for 3 years, made great connections with people. I still text these people. We meet separately on one-on-ones, but I don't need to see them every 2 weeks just to see what's going on. To me, it was more of a waste of time than a waste of money. And actually, since leaving the group, I feel like I get more referrals. I make more introductions. Like I do more for the group that I was in than just being present, like wishing I was at work.
I think that there's also an energy ROI that people should take into consideration, right? Like, okay, money, like you said, knowing the metrics of money spent, obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but the more expensive the group, typically they are a more serious or established business person or a business networking referral group. There's some here locally in the community that, for example, will only allow a CEO. They don't allow any employees. It's only decision makers in the room, right? That's going to cost you a little bit more than the one where,
for sure,
where the new payroll rep is there every 3 months and it's changing, right? Like that's obvious, but you know, there's a money cost, then the time cost, right? Maybe if that group was once a month, maybe you'd be like, oh, maybe I would have stayed.
Or if it was Zoom, like even easier, right?
Right. Because it's low cost, low time commitment, but then also like mentally, like you said, if I'm going there and I'm just like, I have so much to do, you know, I woke up early for this. I feel like mentally too, it just takes a toll on you where it's like, I did that this year. I read the book 10X is easier than 2X.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely changed my life.
Yep.
And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, what's your big hairy goal, right? And evaluate your decisions based off of that goal. Are the decisions you're making today getting you there? And I was doing so much networking, and that's when I said, well, I'm wasting my time, because none of these groups that I was involved in were going to get me to that goal.
Right.
And honestly, I dreaded it. So then I felt like, you know what? I just don't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit here and make 25 cold calls to my ideal prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's worth more of my time, and it doesn't cost me anything.
Or drain
right?
you.
Or drain me, right? I could invest that time in my team. I could create content during that. I could do so much. So it's like, I think that it's a money commitment, and especially when you're starting out, right? Obviously the money is a big deal.
But there are sacrifices into doing it. I get it, right? You should start with like a $50 one. But as soon as you can, and this is business owner mindset, as your income increases, you really have to reinvest that back. Mm-hmm. Because if you just think that $50 a month networking group is going to take you to what your 10X goal is, it's probably not. You really have to take that back and invest it, so that way you're in that higher class of professionals.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, because it even applies to even just knowing your ideal prospects, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said it initially. I don't even know if you realized that you said it's the type of client we want to meet, mm-hmm. right? Because it's like the 80-20 rule, right? With
100%. I have the numbers to prove it.
They're attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
They buy a lot of insurance. They know a lot of people that are wealthy. They all need insurance, right? They take their advice. Mm-hmm. Usually every referral an attorney gives, because they're an attorney, it's usually, the gospel, like it's there. And so it's like, okay, it might cost you double or triple whatever that other one cost you, but also it's less work.
Mm-hmm. It's less work. They make decisions faster, right? Because they're not trying to pinch pennies or whatever. Correct. They also see you as a valued professional, right? Like we have a license, we have to do school.
They understand, right? They understand, right?
So they say, hey, you know what? I trust you,
right?
Just go with it.
And the internet is coming for them too, right? With like prepaid legal stuff, or like that.
Sure,
so they understand what we go through. So it's almost like whenever I've had any attorney here, we talk about that too, because there's people that say, oh, I could do my estate online, I could do my will online. Mm-hmm. No, you can't. Just like you can't do your insurance online. I mean, you could, but it's wrong.
Right. Or I'm not going to say any names.
Yeah.
It just bothers me when people are like, I'll just go online. Like, okay, they'll sell you anything online without understanding what protection you need. What I like working with these higher level individuals or attorneys and things like that, not only are they they're making these decisions faster, but they also value their time. So they say, I get to pay for insurance mostly around the same price that I would pay, whether it's you, me, or, they don't even think about doing it online because of the amount of time it's going to take them to try to figure that out. They just say somebody will do it. They're going to get a commission for it because we only get paid if we sell the policy. So they're going to do all that work for maybe not to get paid or whatever. Sure, let them do it. Like, what's it really going to cost me? Nothing. A 2-minute conversation. Here's what I need from you. Get it done.
Right. Yeah. I think that's so part of the advice that I heard from you is not only just that investment, just track it and do all that stuff, but also like identify who you want to go after and what the circle of influence is that you want to be in. I did that too recently, and it happens to be business attorneys are the best for me because of that, right? They've got their hands in their clients' businesses. They're writing their leases. They're writing their agreements. They always come with insurance requirements. So I was able to identify that. That's one of the angles as far as like referral partners, right? That has been beneficial for me. Another question for you about because I know you guys have a lot of like referral partners. How do you nurture those relationships?
That it's so funny. You're asking all questions that I just started addressing so recently and planning into 2025. one of our top agents at John Galt has 600 referral partners.
Wow.
Right. And you say, how does he nurture them? There's a school, two different school of thoughts. You can have 600 referral partners, whether they're good or bad. They send you one piece of business every month. You got 600 pieces of business. Or you have 100 referral partners that you nurture, you take care of, you're there of every day. You check in, you see how their family's doing and you help them grow their business. And they also send you 600, but they're just sending you multiple pieces of business per month. I would actually say having less people is harder because it's a lot more commitment on your end. There's a lot more follow-up on your end that you have to check in, see what's going on. You have to help them, because if all you're doing is, if it's so much easier in my mind to get 600, put them on a newsletter, send an email out, send one text out every month and see what business comes in. But to build a relationship with 100 people, really take notes and say, hey, what's going on in their lives? Well, I saw on Facebook, the kid is sick. This one's traveling. See,
I mean, honestly, it's a full-time job.
It really is. And I've learned from actually a couple mortgage brokers that we work with. They actually have a system on how to call people and follow up, which is really, really cool. And I kind of stole it from them. And it's just like, hey, you know what? Every Monday, I reach out and I make some phone calls. Not always about business, but it's just checking in like, hey, I saw you did this over the weekend. Hey, I know this. I know your birthday's coming up. I know your wedding is coming up. And I check in that way. So that way every Monday they know and understand. I'm going to check in on them as a person, right? Because you do have to genuinely care about people. I'm a little bit more business oriented, and my goals are always just get it done. So I'm not always so personable. That's why we work so well together, because you understand that. But like when I call and check in, I'm just like, hey, how's everything doing? What are you guys doing? Whatever. And it could be like, hey, Gerry, I'm going to an insurance conference, and can you just check in on my dad? Like, you refer to somebody and something, like, just stop by the office, see what's going on. Okay, no problem. But sometimes I work too fast that way, but I do genuinely care, and I'm working on making sure people care and understand more. My word of the year is actually transformative, starting actually like this month into 2025, because I really believe if you help and transform somebody's life, transform somebody's business, in turn, they're going to do the same to you. Mm-hmm. So just be patient, be there, and like actually genuinely care, because I want to build relationships with people. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. Just because we don't talk we actually don't talk every day, but every time we get to know it, like that we get back in contact with each other, it's like I spoke with you an hour ago. Yeah. So that's important to me, and that's how I want to grow my business. And, I think if everybody did that, everybody would be much more successful. It may be a little slower. It may cost you more. It's definitely a more time consuming, but, you really go to war with people, and you know that these people have your back, and when you need them to show up, they show up. Those 600 people, if you ask them to show up, nobody's showing up.
I agree. And it matters in the area of business that you're in. That mortgage broker, real estate industry is so fast and like solution oriented, and it's like, if you don't help me today, you're like, they move on to the next. That's Correct. Just the nature of the industry, and I understand it, because there's 75 hands in one transaction, right? And you can't be the one that drops the ball because you ruin it. Mm-hmm. They'll never use you again. I understand that. It's by nature very transactional. Mm-hmm. But it still highlights the fact that there's so many ways to skin this cat. And I agree with you. I'm about the 100 over the 600, because you also can coach the 100. Maybe not the 100, but out of the 100, maybe you could sit down with 30 and say, hey, listen, you sent me 3 awesome referrals this year. This is what they had in common. Can you send me more of those? Mm-hmm. With the 600, you get the spam. So some of it is a lot of frivolous work you're doing. It's busy work. It's busy work. And so it feels good. And I'm sure you're still producing. Sure. Also, in our industry, does the business stick when it's like that? When you have that investment of a warmer introduction, of a warmer, referral, it tends to stick a little bit more in what we do. But I think that a lot of people don't like to like evaluate their referral partners. And I think that they should.
They should.
They should, because, you know, it feels good. Okay, let's say in the last 3 years, we have a good relationship with the business that we send each other. But let's say you sent me 20 deals and I did one, and 19 of them were crap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then maybe we don't need. Maybe we could just be friends.
Correct.
Right? Like, you're not doing me any favors.
Right. No, it's actually really important. It's funny because 2 weeks ago I called you and I said, hey, do you want this deal?
Yeah,
I don't think this fits what you're going for.
And that's because you know and understand what I want.
Exactly. Why? Because you build a relationship and you're trying to help somebody else build their business. There's somebody out there that wants that specific risk or that specific like situation. I don't know, thankfully, right? Because you guys network with awesome attorneys. I don't know an attorney that says, oh, I do everything. Like, those are not the best attorneys. Right. When you talk to one of the top 50 immigration attorneys ever, in this country, all she does is immigration. She's not going to tell you about how to write your will. She's going to refer you to the top person that does wills and estate planning, and because that's all they do. So you really have to understand what your ask is, again, why, and you do that by building the relationships. But you have to figure out if and we look at our referral partners. I actually tally up at the end of the month what everybody sends us, how good it was, and then we evaluate it at the end of the year to say, hey, are we going to continue to build this
and spend your time
and spend our time, or are we going to say, listen, in the level of referral partners, this is where you are. We would like you to be here, but if you're going to just keep treating us this way, then understand we're going to treat you the same way. If you give us the crappy deals, then I can only give you seconds of my time and say, okay, fine, I'll try to get it done.
Also, I think that it could be a learning experience of feedback of your experience, right? Because maybe they'll say, you know what, maybe I don't like the way you work, or maybe I found someone that does it faster or has another, it's also an opportunity. It's not just an opportunity, or we shouldn't use it just to fire them, but also ask for feedback about ourselves and how we're running our business. And is there something we messed up on? Because most people, especially in the era where we are in growing our business, are generous with each other, right? And you can make a mistake once and they'll let it pass once. But, things happen. When there's feedback to be given, sometimes they don't. But it's also really good to ask.
So, yeah, you shouldn't be hypocritical, right?
Correct.
You don't want to just fire, but you do not hold all the power in a relationship.
And people make mistakes and drop the ball.
100%. More in what we do, it's really like only we're going to drop the ball. Like, if the deal gets to us, it's either, we're going to dunk it or we're going to miss the alley-oop. Right. But in part of our process, on a quarterly basis, we meet with everybody and we say, hey, this is what you've sent us, this is what's going on. But we also want feedback from you to know, like, make sure we're holding up our end of the deal. Are we meeting your time expectations? Is it getting done fast enough? Are you emailing us too much on, like, I send you one document, but it really should be edited, or you want it this specific way? So I want to know all those details because I want to improve and be the best referral partner for you, so that way you cannot replace me.
Right.
So then
it's almost like you're an extension of them.
100%. We tell everybody, we're just part of your team. You don't have to pay us. We're free, but we have to earn our way there and earn our seat at the table year after year after year, whether it's a referral in our business, a referral partner or a client, but you have to earn your way there and stay there. Right.
This is really good because it's networking is so tough for most people, right? It's
uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. And sometimes it's an act, honestly, right? It's an act at the end of the day when you're going to that happy hour, and then it's just like, you got to put on the act and you got to talk about yourself in ways that we're not trained to talk about ourselves. Like if we're the best and what we're looking for and your elevator pitch, all that stuff. And so I think that one of the things you guys do really well is just you're yourselves. Right. And I think that that's,
to a fault.
But is it?
Well, no. So it's funny. We always joke around. A lot of people will be introduced to me as like the agency owner, right? We talk and like the relationship is, hey, Gerry always gets it done. I can always count on him. They talk to Kimberly, and then I get back on the phone and they're like, listen, bro, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I only want to deal with Kimberly.
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of like business kind of like circles in. Like I may be introduced to them. I introduce them to Kimberly, and then boom, they never want to talk to me again. But I'm more than happy because again, I'm more of the just get it done person, and I do really want to genuinely help you, but I have
but
a
on
lot
your
of things to
timeline.
get done. Yeah, on my timeline.
I mean, and she's just great. Don't worry, she's going to be on the podcast. It was a big debate about who do I invite first, and then you picked it apart.
Good choice. Good choice.
I made the right choice.
I would have been. I would not have come if I was number 2.
But she's here supporting you.
But she is.
Well, that's why she's the best.
No, I would come and support her.
Well, yeah, not because she's second.
Then I never do the podcast because you didn't invite me first.
Tell everybody, what is the best book you've ever read for business? Like, has made an impact on your business?
I just recently, over the last 2 weeks, I just read 2 books. So I'm gonna say the first book I read because it dealt a lot with mindset. It's 9-Figure Mindset. I haven't read it. I literally just saw it like on Instagram, and I said, man, I never heard. It's one of Grant Cardone's partners that does like Cardone Ventures. His name's Brian. I read the book. I really like it. I actually did it through audio because I don't have time to read books.
I do both.
At the same time.
Yeah, I have it read to me and I like study it.
I got you. I've heard that's actually one of the best ways to do it. Yeah, I have to.
Because if I'm listening only, I'm distracted, and if I'm reading only and I'm reading it in my voice, I feel like I don't pick up the cadence of like what they want me to understand.
I get that. I get
the tone. Yeah.
Cool. So what I started doing is I go on like morning walks and I listen to the book so I can focus more. Because you're right, at work and listening to a book.
Oh no,
you're
not
listening.
I can't. No.
So what I did is I purposely went on like these morning walks, like hour-long walks, and I would just listen to a couple chapters at a time. And man, that book was so good. It because it's Grant Cardone and the whole 10X thing and all that, they really talk about 10Xing your business, but it was so much on mindset, on like all this has happened in his life. And the way he reads it, I kind of relate to him a lot because one of his saying is like, there's no emotion in business except the emotion of celebration when you get it done. Other than that, no emotion, just get it done. So I related a lot to that, and it's all processes, mindset, where to find people. I mean, to the point that we're actually going to, they have an event in Arizona, which we've never been to Arizona, in January. Me and Kimberly are going because I do all the boring events, but this one I want her to come so that way she can really see and be motivated and understand, like sometimes we're in the weeds, but we really have to be focused on what 10Xing our business would do and how to get there. So that business book was good for me as the business owner. I'm going to cheat and I'm actually going to give you 2. Me as the business owner completely changed. If you see my sliding glass door, I currently have notes from top to bottom on the whole book and just things that I'm planning and all that. The second one that me and Kimberly listened to together on a car ride is like Empire, or Building an Empire, with Grant Cardone's wife. It's her book that she reads. Wow.
Really?
What a book for couples, either that work together or that one partner is a business owner and the other one isn't. What a book to really explain what the partnership is like, what it should be.
Oh, camera shut off. Okay. The battery died. It's okay. This is still recording. The audio was recording.
What a book to show you how important it is to have the right partner and what that partner needs to bring to the table and support you to build an empire. Totally change our marriage, how we look at doing business together because we work together and sit next to each other, and what we need to bring to each other during certain times. Listen, that's good. Game changer.
That's good. Yeah, I was gonna that was gonna be actually my last question about like what advice do you have? Because my parents worked together in this business, but when they both worked for corporate America, they both worked from home, even though they worked for different companies. So they've always kind of just been around each other all day anyways.
Right.
So I was going to ask you about that, about like, what advice do you have for someone that's working with a spouse or a family?
It's different. Most couples think somebody has to be more in charge, and the, like the woman may have to be more submissive and whatever. But in business, it's different. The roles, everything is more active and more understanding towards a common goal. I'm gonna send it to you because you also should listen to it. I'm trying to get the words like together, but it really is empire building, and I can't describe it unless you listen to it. But I changed the way I looked at our marriage, me and Kimberly, and I said, hey, in building an empire, like there's a king and queen, and we need to understand like a king's position is not what we see in the movies and on TVs, and a queen's position definitely isn't.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I got it. It's more like playing chess. And if you look at it like playing chess, the queen is the most powerful, feature on the board, and in life and in business, what the queen can do to help the king out and elevate him, totally a game changer. And that's what I think when it comes to businesses stopping at one level. It's the queen, right? That limits the king. Because if you have a partner, for example, if you have a partner that says, I'm the business owner, I'm the one that's going to be doing all the hard work, doing all these sacrifices, whatever, and all the wife or the spouse wants is, I just want you to be home, and they don't understand that, and then they tell the kids, like, oh, your dad's not home because he's prioritizing business over us, that's creating toxicity.
Right.
And not helping the situation. Now you feel bad, now this, whatever, and your business stalls and you plateau and you're always there.
And mentally, it takes up room in your head. It doesn't let you focus and produce and be.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you're working, feeling guilty.
Right.
And you as the business owner, you say, oh, man, I wonder where I would be if I wasn't held back. So now, it creates so much adversity between you as a couple, whether you work together or not. Right. But it messes things up, and I'm sure that is why so many marriages break up, like as business owners, coincidentally when they don't work together, because of that imbalance and
there's
the
seasons of imbalance, because it's
100%.
A season, right? And even if you've been in business for 10 years, there might be a season that comes around where it's growth or retention, whatever it is, and that season comes back. It's
You have to decide that it's a season too.
Right.
I like working. I love what I do. I can work for a long time and not get tired. And I've learned now that I have to season it off, and I have to say, you know what, like for the next quarter, it's grow extreme. Because my wife likes seasons because she loves vacation.
Good for her.
Yeah. She's like, she goes on vacation, comes back, and wants to plan the next one. Right. So I'm the opposite. I'm like, why plan on vacation? We just got to work. So it's good to say, hey, for this quarter, no vacations. We're going to work extremely hard. But then she plans on that, that next quarter or that next month, whatever. Maybe it's a mini vacation or a small vacation where I'm not allowed. Well, I take my laptop because then I freak out. But I'm not allowed to work like on specific days and things like that, just to have that family time and disconnect. And that I know for a fact is what helps us and what keeps our marriage together. Because if not, it goes downhill pretty quickly if the priorities are set differently.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, so those are the
yeah.
the two
I'll leave them in the show notes for people.
Yeah, nine-figure mindset and empire, building an empire, something like that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. Sorry the camera shut off in like the last 5 minutes.
It's okay. If you're listening now or you just jumped on, I'm actually really ugly.
No, you're so stupid.
So
don't worry, they're gonna see your picture.
Oh, okay.
So it's still gonna be there. I'll just have my editor put the picture.
Forget it then.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find us on Instagram. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know the Instagram thing.
Rivas.
We're gonna put in the show notes. My wife is gonna kill me.
It's the Rivas, not the. I think it's
You're
Rivas
right.
Team.
I think it's Rivas Insurance Group on Instagram.
Well, I'm gonna put it.
I love how you know it more than I do. My wife handles that part.
Yeah.
But you can find us on Instagram. You can follow us personally on Facebook, and of course you can always email us. email, call, or text, always available. We have an office line. My direct cell phone is given to everybody, referral partners, clients. So if you need me, you can get in touch with me.
It'll be in the show notes, guys. This is why Kimberly would have crushed it first.
Yeah, she that answered that question. She would have crushed.
That's why she's the networker, because she knows your information.
100%.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome
for being here.
Absolutely.
I love you, dude. And I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
You're doing a good job.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be here without you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, we'll just keep building together.
That's right.